All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Welcome to this episode of the Supper Food for Thought podcast, where we're serving food for mind, body, and soul. Today, I have a special guest, somebody who I've definitely been a benefactor of his work for years now, in terms of spirituality. This man has created a path for many. He is one whom I would consider to be the author of what I would call the Bible of Orisha, and Orisha worship and Ifa worship, in terms of the fundamental foundation that he laid with the creation of one of his projects, which is the Yoruba Handbook. And there's many more projects that he has also created, but the religious concepts in the Yoruba Handbook is one that was very instrumental in my path and my life of spirituality. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to have cross paths with Baba Oloye Ifa Karade, and it's been a wonderful mentorship, to say the least, to be able to be under your tutelage, on a consistent, regular basis. I'm very deeply indebted to that, and I appreciate it, man. It's definitely made a world of a difference in terms of my spirituality, in terms of my development, in my spiritual path and journey. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome to our broadcast today, Professor. How you doing today, Professor Baba?
Okay. Shelafiani, to you, my brother, and to all who are leaning their ear and their oris this way. All right. I'm doing well. As to say, I'm not bad for an old man, At 70, I'm still waging war against all that is not beneficial to us, all that is not, uplifting to us. I take these obstacles and hindrances and psychological mind bending, techniques utilized against us very seriously. I'm not playing with these people.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can call it war. Okay, psychological, spiritual, mental, physical. You know, but the objective is to win. You know, and to not over negotiate the who we are, the why we are, and the where we're going. So again, peace and blessings to everyone. Okay.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Baba. So with that being said, we got quite a bit of ground to cover today for the people. But for those who haven't been exposed to your work and been exposed to who exactly you are, to the movement in terms of spirituality and or Orisha lifestyle, can you kind of just give like a quick breakdown on like your path and your journey in terms of being a Babalawo and a high priest of the tradition, and kind of just a quick backstory of how your path has inspired your work.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, but I need to warn you. I'm 70 years old, and my short stories can be like all day long. You know, because there's so much to tell, and there's so many, you know, uh, points within myself that I've been able to reach and gain epiphanies from, and so many places in the world that I've traveled. Uh, Kenya, Nigeria, Brazil, the islands, different states right here in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and all for the purpose, of learning. People will ask me, well, how many followers do you have and all that? And I'm telling them, I'm not here to discuss followers. I'm here to amass leaders,
Mm-hmm.
you know those who will take up arms, if you will, to make this Ifa Orisha tradition, this understanding, that which will be a positive statement in the lives of we, the quote unquote, Africans in America, and to humanity at large, via the diaspora. So I set out on a journey uh, back in 1986. No, 1977.
Wow.
Okay, when I first went to Kenya, and I was just learning about Orisha, just learning about drumming, and all of that was a result of being a student at Rutgers University in New Brunswick. And at that time, coming out of the 60s, there were some deep people there. Nikki Giovanni was there, Freddie Waits was there, Ivan Van Sertima was one of my professors. Okay,
Wow.
so it was a deep time in terms of, oh, okay, black man, it's time for you to wear that mantle and carry that sword and shield, to wherever you go. Marching against apartheid, the whole thing. So how does that, open up one's spirituality? Well, greatly, because just like we fought for our history being taught, back in the 60s and 70s, and now down in Florida,
Right. Where I'm at. Yeah.
it's like, and
a whole nother show right there.
the poisonous tentacles that are running through. It's like,
Right.
okay, we can struggle historically, yes, but we must also, as far as my revelation is concerned, we must also struggle spiritually. Because we can't separate, our historical experiences from our spiritual experiences. And hence religious constructs and philosophical, realities, realities born from what we're thinking and why we're thinking it. So yeah, let's get serious about this. But I can't promote seriousness if I'm not serious, because any child will say he ain't for real. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or he's just looking for the fanfare, or you got 10K, followers. And I'm like, that's not a legacy. That's a momentary victory. How long does that last?
Right.
So what are you really doing? How are you feeding, this nation of we, as a people? And it's not about being popular, it's about being potent, it's about, people looking to you, not because, it's a part of some fad or gratification instinct,
Right.
okay, but because they want to weave your experiences into their lives in order to reinforce their being. There's your spiritual constitution. So those have been, the driving mechanisms behind me up until this day, and up until the day that my body becomes a part of this earth and my spirit remains. I'm very conscious of that. So yeah, I encourage people to travel. I encourage people to keep inwardly journeying and not just outwardly journeying. Yeah, I encourage people to become more philosophical and thoughtful and mindful, and not just kind of following the rituals that seem to be elaborated upon, and I'll use that term mildly, on a daily basis. One day is this and the next day is that, and everybody's, kind of running around, but nobody's sitting down and meditating, on the value or contemplating, what the deeper essence of Ifa and Orisha are about.
I like
and that. Yeah, as an elder speaking, I know my voice is not going to be the same as someone in their 20s. You understand? I understand that. But at the same time, the way that the younger generations think has a lot to do with what they don't know. Right? And how they're moved more by emotion, and even, lack of vision due to lack of substantial, concrete imagery, discussions. Most of the people, and I dare say most, I'm trying not to generalize, but from what I've gathered lately, is that we're not reading, we're not studying, we're enjoying Ifa and Orisha, and we're taking up this, um, uh, kind of supernatural, mentality about it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's few elays, houses, whatever we want to call them, who are encouraging, educating, and then liberating a person, a people, a community
Mm-hmm.
as a result of embracing the spirituality of Ifa Orisha.
That's
So that's
powerful.
what moves me, brother. That's what gets me up in the morning and keeps me pacing the floor at night.
Right.
You know?
No, that's powerful. And just listening to that, hell, we could cut the feed off now. we got we got a whole buffet of food for thought for real. But three things that you said in that response that stuck out to me was ritual, meditation, and spiritual constitution. Like that's powerful. That is very powerful. And I think when you talk about, like, even here in Florida, you got the governor trying to remove Black history from the schools. And it's all a bunch of foolishness. But I look at it like that's the tactics that these people do. That they've been doing since the transatlantic. They've been trying to keep us from reading, trying to keep us from learning, because they know the power in knowledge of self. They know the power in us being able to tap into spirituality, and definitely the power into tapping into ritual. So in order for us as a group, as a whole, in order for us to make a shift with the elays and the houses who you said that you feel like are not liberating and not empowering, not just the members of that elay, but the community and the culture. I know we're going to get into it later in the program, but what are some of the suggestions you can give somebody like myself and people who are, who have the same similar mindset in terms of being able to empower and liberate people in terms of knowing how to use Orisha or spirituality, whether it's Orisha or not, just spirituality, because there's still power, and regardless of what a person's belief system is, there's power in tapping into the divine, the power of the creator. So what would you say are some tools that we can use to help people to be able to tap into spirit and meditation and ritual in order to empower themselves and their communities?
Well, in all honesty, we're doing it right now.
Mm.
We have to develop systems of dissemination.
Mm.
Anybody can turn on the TV or the radio right now and hear everything and nothing.
Right.
So being able to have platforms, and upon those platforms, experienced individuals, um, all right, so you made priesthood last year. Trust me, that doesn't really make you, worthy of going out and, talking about what is and what isn't.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not humbled by your experiences with Ifa and Orisha, then I dare say you might be on the right track, but you're on the wrong train. Okay. So arrogance becomes, problematic. Okay. I know this and I know that. A quick example. I came across something just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Young Baba Oloye talking about the Ori is from the neck up. The Ori, has nothing to do with the rest of the body. You have to keep basically feeding your Ori. And I said, I don't even get into the yik yak with individuals,
Right. Right.
because you're either gonna learn as because you're growing, or you're gonna learn from people who are grown. So
I like
I was
that.
like, well, that is a very youthful statement. People just getting into it, and it's all about Oris and Eboris and rogations and blah blah blah. But it's like the Ori permeates the body. The body is a mindful entity. It's only when we don't realize it that we more or less lean towards what the body wants, and not really facing that the body doesn't really want anything without the ori, either struggling against it or assisting it in a process, be that process detrimental or beneficial. So the objective as a consciously developing person would come to understand is that consciousness permeates the body. Okay? You must be able to focus your movements. You're just not moving, because if you do, you're going to lose the fight. You have to have a strategy. You have to have hand-eye coordination. You have to know where your body is. You have to know where your mind is and how it's either psyching you up or psyching you out, in terms of that. But I'm just using that, as an example.
No, that makes sense.
But sure, but that comes as a result of development.
Right.
And there's a lot of what's going on out there that seems to be leaning again more towards kind of youthful perspectives and contemporary perspectives, and dare I say, ways of being involved that are alternate states of mind and even sensibility. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. I need to pay my rent, but no, I'm going to go get this ritual done. No, pay your rent. Okay. All this coming, Orisha are not, saving graces in that respect. Because when you start to want more of what you think this is about, at the expense of losing the ground that you stand on, you're not grounded, quote unquote. Okay. So you get disenchanted. You don't want to, deal with it anymore. You blame the priest, you blame the priestess, you blame you look everywhere except into yourself.
Facts.
The world is based on negotiations and treaties. And that gets us further than war and mayhem and chaos. But we will turn to Elegba, for this, that, and the other. But what we are not understanding is that negotiation is basically what Eshu, Elegba, is all about. Okay? Decision-making and the consequences of those decisions is what Eshu, Elegba is all about. Okay. So we are negotiating life. But see, now we're talking about the philosophical basis of Ifa Orisha involvement. And that is not a part of Ile's houses, temples, for the most part, And trust me, I'm not assassinating anybody's character. I'm not saying this is good or this is bad, but people who are part of my temple that I had running strong for like 21 years knew from the first day, it's like, A, you will build your own throne. Don't be sitting around here depending on something to be dropping out of the sky. And, you have to build your own throne. Okay. And two is that it's not just about putting in the work. It's about putting in the understanding. It's about putting in the understanding, coming up with ways and means to evolve self, to evolve community, and to make, even if we can, whatever your world is, make it better. Okay? And so now we're talking about what Orunmila is stating. And you very, very rarely hear from the Orunmila perspective outside of, well, this is what the Odu says. Okay, well, that's nice. Okay. But I want to know more about, the individual who was able to encapsulate ancient knowledge, because Orunmila just didn't wake up one morning with all of this. He studied. Okay. Before the Odu, there was a system of wisdom, a wisdom system that preceded Orunmila. Okay. It was called the Ikedu. Okay. And that's what Orunmila studied. But see, this is not being taught. This is not a part of the discussion. Okay. And I'm not even going to talk about how Black history is not a part of the structuring of the Ifa Orisha culture and tradition within this country or any other country. Okay. So you're giving, people a car, but you're not teaching them how to drive.
Right. I like that.
And there's people getting certification because they had evos done, or they went here and they went there and they taking all these pretty pictures. I'm like, what are you there for? The pictures? I'm going to post it on Facebook and all that. No, you're losing the reason why.
Right.
Okay. So there's no history in the temples. There's no philosophical basis in the temples. So what I have to say in closing is that we need to get them in there.
Facts. I like that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, my apologies.
No.
It's basically just,
almost for sure.
Yeah, or just do what I tell you, or the Risha said do this, and Risha said do that. I was someplace, and everybody knows I'm vegetarian and then vegan and whatever. But the whole thing was, okay, well, the food was being cooked, and then it's like, okay, well, the madrina comes over, and I'm going back a couple of minutes in my life. And she said, well, here, Shango wants you to eat this. And I'm like, well, I don't eat pork and I don't eat meat, and I'm not going to eat it.
Right.
No, but Shango, wants you to eat it, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Pushing it. And I'm saying, no. But yeah, and did lightning come from the sky and strike me dead? Did Shango come out? It was like, no. We have to understand that there is a distinct difference between what somebody wants you to do, based on their cultural lineage. I'm saying, if y'all eat it, I'm not saying anything to anybody about what you're doing.
Right.
But don't push it on me. If I'm, visiting a church or whatever, and they want me to eat the wafers and drink the grape juice for the gun, and I'm telling them, no, I'm not going to do it.
Right. And that doesn't detach from your connection to the original. Or if you're in the church, that doesn't detach from your connection to Jesus. Like, you have the right to be divine in your own right. And I think that's something that's going across the board too, Baba. And that's why I really like having these conversations, because yes, this is our vehicle of spirituality. However, the same issues are in all the different modalities or vehicles of spirituality. It's happening in the church, it's happening in the mosque, it's happening, it doesn't matter like what your religious sector is. Like, these things need to be corrected, and they need to be resurrected, to some type of level of authenticity and accountability, to where we can move forward and making things happen.
Right. And I'm not going to fight with people. I tell everybody, like I tell my young students, I'll fight for you, but I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to fight you. I'll fight for you till the end, but I'm not going to fight you.
Right.
Okay. Because what sense does it make? You know what I mean? All the enemies are slain, and then you did too.
Right.
So what's my point? I'm standing there all by myself.
Right.
So the whole thing is that, okay, so just like when I came up with the handbook, that was a result of 7 years. I boiled that down to its most basic molecular structure.
Wow.
And so this is going to be it. Enough of the big books, enough of the, high shelves that most people, A, don't even know are there, and B, can't reach it.
Right.
Okay. I want something that people can carry in the bare knuckles okay, or right there, you put it in your pocket, put it in your pocketbook, put it down on your desk, and it's like, yeah, these are the necessary essentials. And
Absolutely.
from here, I can grow. Okay.
Absolutely.
But that was part of my battle. Okay. And once I saw how successful that was, I said, well, shoot, I'm feeling like, I can do more.
Right.
And clearly, I have, you know. But, again, the whole thing is that people have fought against these books. People have threatened me against these books. You know, you know, and not everybody is down with the program,
Right.
but I don't care. I'm not doing it to be down. I'm doing it to be up,
Right.
and to bring my people up. And what do I ask for it? You don't see me going around, oh, I'm to this, I'm to that. You know, Technically, I'm an Oba. I founded a community,
Mm.
a village
Mm.
that has basically grown into a nation. There's Karades and Karade influenced people all over the world.
Facts.
But I'm not sitting here with blinking lights. Oh, I'm this and I'm that, and you got
Right.
to do it my way.
Right.
No, if you don't eat meat, then don't. And if you do, then do. If you want the wafers and the wine or the grape juice or whatever, then knock yourself out. But if you don't, then don't. You know. But as a Rumila states, be authentic.
Mm.
And you mentioned the word yourself. And be an authentic human being. And that is not a construct of what others put on you. That's
Right.
what you have come to internalize and then express.
Right.
First of all, in your own self vision, your own self determination, okay, and then your loved ones, and then it
Emanates out into your environment.
does.
And you know
Right.
what's crazy? One of the things that I know, and what you kind of hit it, but said it in a different way, but pretty much real recognize real. And I think what I love the most about the teachers, the masters, the greats who I love, who I study, who I learn from, who I sit at their feet, every single one of them was undeniably authentic and didn't care who gave what about what they said, what they thought, how they felt, etc. And they also were the kind of coaches and the teachers who would teach to a point where they want to teach their students or their mentees or whoever to be independent and self-sufficient, independent of them. Those are the ones who are the ones who I feel like are the most powerful, because you get the students who believe in themselves already, but then you give them that fuel. And it reminds me of one of my favorite motivational videos I watch all the time about Customato, and he talks about when he was training Ali and some of the great boxers that he trained. And he said, my job is not to teach a fella to be champion of the world. My job is to teach and train the fella to be champion of the world and independent of me. And that's always stuck with me, because those are the ones who I feel like are the trendsetters. Those are the ones who are transcendent, who their lessons are never going to go away, because not only are they giving you powerful information and powerful teaching, but they're teaching you to fish. They're not trying to have you on the boat with them reeling in one fish at a time and bird feed. They're teaching you how to go out there and fish, and then get your own boat and go out there and fish for yourself, so you know how to do for yourself, for the rest of your life. And that's what I think really resonates with so many different readers of your work and so many different students of your teachings, is because that raw, authentic self and not caring about what other people think. And I love it and I appreciate it. So with that, let's get into what was the main course meal, man. Speaking the other day, you let me know that you got a very powerful project in the works, and it's something that I definitely was just happy to hear about, and it's something that I think so many people can and will benefit from. So with getting into that, Baba, do you want to share a little bit about this new project that you got going on, and who it's for and who it was created to serve?
Okay, well, for us, by us, hey, and I'm not selling out. Okay.
No, that's right.
The whole thing is that, again, going back to the handbook and the lectures and panels that I was on, stemming from the mid 80s, and the handbook was published, I think, in 94, and then OGC came along. All right, is that standing around kind of woeing and woe is me and about we don't have this and we don't have that. Well, the main reason that we don't have it is because I'm not doing anything. So I took it upon myself to write the books, uh, and then it dawned on me that I could write a novel. I read enough of them. Somebody sat down and wrote them. So why should I feel, unable? If I can read, I can write,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and I can teach myself. I didn't go to school to be a writer. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. You know what I mean? But I did learn how to apply my intellect to whatever I put my mind towards,
Mm.
because it is a matter of discipline, self-discipline, and it is a matter of vision. This is the vision that I have. So I wrote Souls of Myrrh, and then I wrote A Place of Night's War and Resurrection, and of course the industry was like, no, 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 we're not ready for this yet, or no, 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 and Toni Morrison's words, the white gaze was like, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're not the heroes. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. You're not. Okay.
Right.
And so, but that's not going to stop me from writing my book or self-publishing or finding out ways to disseminate it, to make it available to, those whom I feel would most benefit from it. I'm not writing it, for you,
Right.
I'm writing it for my people,
Right.
and I'm not going to give up on it. I'm not. I'm just not. You so that said, and then when it came down to the temple, I formed my own temple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, does your godfather know this? That look, nobody got nothing to do with this but me and the Orisha and Rumula and my ancestors. Okay. No, I don't. Nobody need to tap me on the head, for me to see the light. I'm good. I can see it. And constructed a temple, and in that temple, the temple of the mystic path, we all became mystics.
Mm.
Okay? And 99% of the folks who left the temple went out to do some very, very, meaningful work.
Wow.
Culturally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't lose a moment's sleep, behind it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I shut the doors when folks started to look like they was becoming too dependent on me. I
Wow.
was like, no, money has nothing to do with it. Fame, fortune, whatever. What's
Right.
most important to me is that you build your own throne.
Right.
Okay. And you go out in the world and make a difference. And if I have to shut the temple doors, in order for you to start, like, like being kind of kicked out of the nest, really
Right.
go fly.
Right. Oh
And
yeah.
that's what I do. And I'll find another way, to be of service. And then that's why I opened up a family business, a gymnastics school, and I raised our girls in it, and little brown babies running around, learning gymnastics and stuff, and then Ia becomes Coach Ia, and the gymnastics school becomes her temple. That she is the queen of that, and she makes that happen. And I
Right.
couldn't be more proud of her. You understand?
Sure.
And I'm still teaching, and next thing you know, I'm a professor. No masters, no PhD, okay, but I know how to communicate effectively, and I know how to move, you know people to achieve, okay, not for my sake but for theirs. you know so, and I've been doing this now for about 10, 11 years, but the whole thing is we're all still doing it.
Thanks.
It wasn't a temporary victory. I'm still a Babalawo. I was made Oba years ago, but
Mm.
I just didn't I just didn't want to come out like that.
Right, right. And your work speaks for itself, Baba. And I'm a firm believer in that. I believe in impact over income, because income is gonna most certainly follow impact every day of the week, as sure as the sun rises and the, and the moon, comes after. Like, that's how, income is gonna follow impact. And I feel like that's why I admire about people who keep that humility, on top of knowing, I know your backstory. I know who you are. I know who brought you into your path. And like, that is powerful. You came from some very powerful people, and some very powerful elders who brought you into this world as the Babalawo and Orisha priest that you are. And I think the fact that you would have to really read a lot of your work in order to find the information out, that impresses me, because you're not the person who's flashing titles, who's flashing, all these different things in terms of who they are and what, pretty much I feel like it's more for their ego than it is for their impact. And I feel like that's where there's certain tiers of people who believe in certain different people. The tiers of people who believe in you are the tiers of people who want to be independently successful and impactful in their own right, versus the people who have to put their titles and their accolades and all these other things out there. They're just doing that because they want to be set on a throne of their own, away from the rest of the people who they should be there to teach or inspire, or to, to coach into being independent of them. And I think that's what resonates with a lot of people who have a similar mindset and a similar calling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So what about this new institute that you got in store, man? Can you share a little bit of that with the people and let them know what you guys got going on, and who is going to be a benefactor or beneficial, or who can benefit from this particular new project that you have going on?
All right. Well, first of all, let me make sure that everyone can see the share screen. All right.
Yep.
Um, myself, along with Shango priest, Baba Shango Wale, from out in California. Uh, he is a disciple, studying to be a Babalao under my tutelage.
Hmm.
So as a part of our deep introspection, going through texts and experiences, sat down and said, again, because I don't really see things getting better out there.
Excuse me.
Just like back in the mid 90s, so to speak.
Mhm.
As a relative time frame, I don't see things getting any better now. I mean, the stories that I hear about what's going on in some of these Ilays and Isheshes, and the and then the whole syncretism of Lukumi and Santeria. I said, okay, again, I'm not going to fight people.
Right.
Okay. But I will fight for my people.
Facts.
And what I can do is develop an institute where none of that goes on. I'm not trying to initiate you.
Right.
I'm not trying to ritualize you. I'm not sending you out to get a chicken. I'm sending you out to get a book. Okay. I'm not attempting to be the answer to whatever you're going through, but I will assist in you becoming the answer to whatever you're going through.
Right.
And the only way that can be done is by emphasizing your self-development. So as Baba Shango Awale and I are, lining all of this institute up on paper, so to speak. It's like, okay, so what are we going to call it? And went through several names, but then it was like, okay, we're going to rest on the Ifa Institute of Self-Development and Global Perspectives.
I like that. Ashe.
How can we develop ourselves if we're isolated? If we're in a bubble, if we don't see the world, and the world is clearly not trying to see us, down to the point of, again, erasing our history, not
Trying to, but they ain't.
Yeah.
I
No.
got you.
But in truth, they've been doing it, like you said, since the beginning.
Oh yeah.
I mean, back when I was in Rutgers in the 70s, Black students were taking over colleges because they weren't teaching Black history. You
Right.
understand? The Santos they ain't doing nothing new.
Right.
Santos down in Florida, you know, it's just a tentacle on a poisonous plant, you
Hmm.
know, that just won't seem to die.
It's on the way though. It's on its way.
Well, we thought so after the 70s too,
Yeah.
but then look up and years later, 2023 is done reared its ugly head again.
Okay.
Okay.
You can
But
only
that's
last
just,
so long.
yeah,
We think it's like
that we have to continue to weed the garden.
facts.
We can't sit back and be okay.
Right. Gotta use them tools Ogun gave us to use.
That's right. Tell the truth, brother. Tell the truth. All right. So, the Ifa Institute of Self-Development and Global Perspectives. Now, this is not a thought. This is not an idea. No, we are actually doing it.
Mm.
The organizational irons are in the fire. Okay. So we're moving from this, and I'm just go quickly. Okay, what is Ifa? I took some from the studies that I made with UNESCO back in the day. We're organizational identity, just went through a society of philosophers, not priests. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want the training wheels of ritual and ritual hierarchies to be taken off. Okay. And balance being a primary statement and an endeavor.
Respectfully, Baba, I want to jump in because I got a quick question.
Oh, please.
Because this interview is going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on my YouTube channel, and it's going to be sectioned off to playlist. However, I want you, if you can, elaborate really briefly on how I feel like you don't have to be an Ifa devotee or an Orisha devotee to be able to benefit from the power and information in which you guys are sharing. So could you, for those, because there's so many people who is new to, and so many people who have been, conditioned with the lenses of the colonizers and how African spirituality is demonic and all these, which we ain't gonna get into all that, but we know, that to be the case. But for those who aren't familiar, because there will be people that come across this channel that aren't familiar with it, can you just let them know how they can benefit from it without being forced to feel like they have to go into the path of Ifa or Orisha, please?
Okay. Well, my brother, this is a part of the reason why the Institute was founded, because it's not the journey to priesthood, it's the journey to understanding. Okay. You don't have to be a preacher to embrace Christianity. Okay. You don't have to be an imam to embrace Islam. You don't have to be a guru to do yoga. You understand what I'm saying? So this whole thing that, in order for you to be into, Ifa Orisha, you got to have this and do that, it's a part of a money-making machine that the part of
we condone empowerment and movement, not taking advantage of people financially.
Exactly. Once your perspective of self and people and your connection with nature is changed, you can basically self-initiate, by just walking through the park, by listening to birds, by being more intuitive, you can be initiated by the experiences that you go through. And that's what I'm sharing with people as far as the Institute. You stick with the Institute and you go through the classes, okay, and you demonstrate that you have learned and internalized, then I will bestow upon you a title because I can. Because I can. You can be at church and become a deacon. What sacrifices did you have to go make, and how much money did you have to spend? That's ridiculous.
Right.
So for people who don't want to go down all of those routes and become, part of the mayhem that is, unfortunately, inherent,
Right.
then here's your answer.
Mm.
It's an institute. It's not a quote unquote religious place.
Education.
And yes, it's educational, leading to liberation. So no, no, you don't have to be elected down,
Right.
but if that is your path, that is your calling,
Right.
then fine.
By
But
all means.
right, by all means.
Right.
But everybody in the church ain't the preacher.
Right.
Everybody in the church ain't the deacons.
Right.
Everybody in Christianity don't even go to church.
Right. Right. But that don't mean they don't pray, and that don't mean that they don't have faith
Exactly.
and belief in the Creator. And
Exactly. Probably doing a little better than those who.
that's a whole nother show, Baba. We gotta have a show on that seriously because I see it, in Bembe's and Elays and all that being in this practice. But it's the same thing with church. My father's a Christian. And I thank God for Christianity for saving, for changing his life, for transforming his life. And I support him and he supports me. So when he comes to visit me and he want to go to church, I'm sitting right next to him in church because I still can get a message. I feel like the Creator speaks to me in many different ways, like you said, from nature, for whatever. And so I've always gotten something of, I feel like, fulfillment anytime I went with him, because for one, I'm supporting him. So that's enough within itself for loving him and supporting him in his path and journey. But then at the same time, I feel like the Creator still has a way of speaking through people, to me. And I feel like that happens every time. So that's one of the things I definitely feel like is a whole nother conversation that I would love to have, just because I believe in Malcolm's words when he said religion clearly ain't working good enough because we in the position we in. If it was working, we wouldn't be where we are. So we need to put religion in the closet and come together and focus on nation building. And that's what we need to do.
And then from a, just and closing on that point, from a historical perspective, enslavement wasn't, a very, welcoming, experience.
Right.
And then what else did our people have to turn to at those times?
Right.
If our faith systems were obliterated. You understand? And so we're still human beings globally. Every culture has a quote unquote religious, underpinning, that grounds them and gives them something more, but when that's gone, you take what you can from whatever is there. And see, sometimes I think we forget that. I'll never be against the church. My grandmother took me to church. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, right.
It was with her that my deepness developed.
Mine too. That's just identical. Mine too.
So it's like, okay, we get that.
Right.
All right.
I think we gotta, as a people, Baba, that one of the biggest things I believe in, and this, I just feel like as a people, and this is all of humanity for that matter, if people just respect one another and respect one another's right to believe in and pray to whoever they see fit, I think the world could be a such a better place because nobody has the right to tell me who to pray to. And I don't have the right to judge anybody else for who they pray to. So if we respect one another's faiths and belief systems, or even each other as a person, and then respected their spiritual commitments to whoever they, are committed to, everything could be so much better and so much easier instead of people, bashing and talking and hating and knocking down, whatever people's religious faiths are. And so,
and that's not a current, that's been going on almost at the beginning of time, but we now more have a capacity because we are more globally synced, via technology and everything else. Whereas, the message can more so resonate. I mean, but again, we got to work at it. All right, but back to this, so we have commitments, and it again, people don't have to be Orisha, in order to be a part of the institute.
Gotcha.
You might just want to learn.
Mm.
And in that learning, they may decide, oh, I want to stick with this, you know, because I've been looking for this.
Right.
Because historically speaking, this was never presented to me. So all I know was Christianity.
Right.
You know? So just scrolling down. I want to get to your favorite book.
I can't say favorite. Listen, I can't put it
Okay.
over I can't put it over the handbook. But man, listen, that's like when people ask me who's better out of Biggie and Pac. I'm not going to disrespect either one of them geniuses, man. I gotta love them both equally. Nobody gonna make me pick one over the other, but I love them both equally.
All right, well, let me auto correct.
Yes, sir.
One of your favorites, and I'm gonna throw the handbook up first.
Respectfully, only because the handbook was the foundation, man. So
all right, okay. So, but here's the handbook, because my books are going to be utilized, and then in conjunction, they're going to be, you know, other references, you know, that are, you know, allies. You know, because, you know, I don't want people to feel as though all we learned about was from, you know,
right.
Baba Ifa Karade.
Right.
You know, you're going to learn from it,
Right.
but there's going to be more where you can compare and contrast. You know what I mean? You can broaden your own horizons outside of the institute and then bring it back into the institute.
The other spiritual and mental food on the menu.
Yes. So under our program ideas, you know, we have the handbook. We have I gotta say that this is probably one of my favorites, you know, the new global perspectives, because as I was studying and writing this book, I was opened up to the world more so than I imagined I would be.
I gotta get that book.
Okay. Yeah, this is a game changer right here.
I'll get it.
Okay, and which is why we put global perspectives in the name of the institute, because we must see ourselves as human beings on the planet, number one, and comparatively speaking, you know, we need to see where we fit. Okay, we're not a subculture, we're not subhuman. You know, our faith factors, philosophies, and religion is not, you know, subservient, you know, to any other faith or religion. I sit down at the table with the best of them and look them straight in the eye. You understand? Okay.
I sure.
So and then, you know, for sake of time and moving on, here's OG said. All right.
I say.
Right. And it's you know, my personal journey, my journal, you know, and experience priesthood while in Ejibo, Nigeria, right outside of Lagos, and the time that I spent with the elders now passed, you know.
Real
So,
quick, and with much honor, respect, and reverence to those elders, can we? I had to just respectfully intervene. Can you just share just a snippet? Because one of the things that it blew me away is your initiators, and the Inyala was 100+ years old, correct?
Yes.
And
plus, yes.
Was
Goodness.
80+ years old, correct?
Yeah.
I can only imagine the power in that ceremony.
I call their names Iyanla Keye, and who initiated me as an Obatala priest, and then her son, Araba Malamon, who was a lead Babalawo in Nigeria, who initiated me into Ifa, and who took me to Tashe, where the temple of Orunmila was built on top of this hill. And I climbed that hill and walked in through that temple along with him. And several other of the elder Babalawos, you know, who knew the pathways, you know. And there I laid in front of that stone symbolic of arumalas bearing, teaching, presence. And that's when I knew, that I could never be anything else.
Wow.
Like I could be this.
That's powerful. That's powerful. One more quick question, Baba. I know we got to keep going through the the presentation. There was a part in the book where you mentioned a tall elder who seemed as if he was the elder of the elders that came through in that moment, and that touched me. I literally was just reading this Wednesday when I went to the water, when I went to Emoja and sat by the water and started reading. And that part stuck out to me. And I just remember how you described the feeling of when he walked in and he didn't have to say a word, but I knew he was someone of a position of power, just based off of the respect that the room had for him. Did you ever find out who he was and what his significance was?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. It was enough
energy
to be in his presence.
That's powerful.
No one said anything about it, and I dare not ask, who that?
Right. That's powerful. I'm gonna let my imagination run wild with that one.
Just let it be. Oh man, I mean, there was some I was in the marketplace, and and here I am, and people kind of realized that I wasn't from around there,
right.
But at the same time, they knew that I was, and this real kind of rugged brother comes up to me and he says, "You are an Ifa priest." And then he just walked by me, and when I turned to see if there's going to be any dialogue, he had disappeared.
Wow.
I mean, we talk about spirit, but we don't really embrace spirit, because they'll come through.
Oh yeah,
their presence comes. And people call them ghosts or whatever, but I call them parts of me, because now that you have done come through me, you left something inside of me too.
Right. That's powerful.
And you took something that you're gonna work on wherever you at, wherever you go.
Right.
And I all I can say is, Modupwe, thank you. People want to bring things down. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna make that. It doesn't always happen like that.
Right.
It doesn't always happen like that. And I would dare say that when they come to you at times when you're most open, at times when you are really in need of an answer, you could be walking down the street. And that's what happened to me as well. A young brother, talking about this, talking about that. Young people don't get into Ifa anymore, blah, 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 missionary, da, 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 da. And he said, but I'm having a situation and, I don't know what to do and da, 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 da. I said, and I was like, well, I don't have my divining tools or whatever, and this, that, my implement, and blah. So I left the shop. But about the time I hit the corner, the old dude came into my head like, bam. I turned around and I went back to the brother and I shared with him the insights. And he was like, how do you know? And yeah, you know what I mean? And then that was my sign. That is not about the cowrie shells and the OB and the opale, as much as it is about what's going on inside of the diviner. Divination, a divine nation, can only be brought to that state, by the divine essence of we who are diviners and of those who are attempting to become more of a divine entity within themselves. So if you're going to get divination and all you want is more money or more this and want to do this and do that, what does that have to do with your divine self?
Right. I feel like that's where a lot of people's gift or their ori or their connection, I feel like it gets watered down to a certain extent, because a lot of people, well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but the people who aren't using it in its purest form, I don't know if the strength of the divine is as strong as people who are using it for the right reason and in its purest form.
Yeah, yeah. But again, back to teachings,
Right.
And back to shattering the illusions that lead to disillusions, about what is Ifa and Orisha all about. Is it really about how many stones you got in your pot? Which was the big thing. Well, if you don't have 8 stones and it wasn't done right, this wasn't done right, this wasn't done right. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do everything, except you need to sit down and be appreciative. You need to sit down and act like you're an adult. I tell you, I don't use the terms and never did godchildren. I would stop people from calling me godfather. A, you're not a child, and B, you look for that father figure somewhere else, because I'm a diviner. You look at me as a diviner, as a Baba Lao, okay? If I'm going to be the essence of Ifa, then let you look to that. Okay. But that means that you're going to have to look to yourself as being responsible and accountable as an adult. Don't give up your adulthood to become somebody's child. Okay. But that was me. I don't have anything to say about what anybody does, but I'm looking for grown-ups.
Right.
In this institute, you're going to have to, you're going to have to apply.
That's what's up. So
you're going to have to apply, because the whole chaos and the 50-year-old pubescent people, you know what I mean? It's like, no, this institute, like any other school, is not for everybody all the time.
Right.
And I'm not looking to become a multi-millionaire from it, like some mega church.
Right.
But I am looking to develop leaders and to get my books, especially the novels, into audiobooks, into anime, into theater. You understand? So that a legacy is left.
Right.
I'm not leaving a legacy if I make $40 million and buy a jet or whatever. That's not a legacy.
Right.
Okay. At least to me. Some people might feel that way. The legacy is having these works continued, where some child can turn on to any channel and see, the Ifa Orisha context and content.
Right.
With inside of a film or inside of some form of anime, where these initial concepts become a part of their upbringing.
I should. That's what's
up. That's the enrichment for me.
Right. So Baba, let me ask you this, because I know we're getting short on time. As far as the institute goes, do you guys have a time frame for when it's going to actually launch, and also how or where can people go to find out more information, or maybe get like on a waiting list, or like how, like for people who see this, because I know people are going to be interested, and like for the sake of just the ability to keep in touch and stay in the loop. And I know we'll have more calls on the topic as well, to kind of help bridge the gap in terms of when the actual formation and the start of the institute. But in the meantime, what would be the best way for people to inquire more about it, or to even try to see about getting on a potential waiting list to be a part of the institute, Baba?
Okay. Well, we're looking at April. Okay. In terms of opening the doors, if you will. And people can start, to kind of inquire about it. They can email me. Okay. They can email you. Okay. Because you're a part of it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Honor and a pleasure.
Yes. So, and our ifainstitute.com.org, it's going to be set up within a couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
The domain name has already been purchased. So again, we're just not talking about this. We're doing it, you know. So I don't want to say that they can go to the domain now because we're hooking it up, so to speak. But
Well, you know
they
what?
can email me Oloye Karade at AOL.com. Email me. I got nothing to do with what's going on in your life right now. But
Right.
if you're interested, it's just I'm interested in the Ifa Institute. My name is such and such and such. Okay. All right. But my name is right there, Oloye Karade at AOL.com.
That's what's up.
And again, if you would be so kind as to offer people, that tunnel funnel that you would
Yeah,
like
with
me.
yeah, and you know what? I kind of can answer my own question, but what I'll do too, I definitely have a email address for this podcast for this YouTube channel, and so I'll
Okay.
have that in the link of the description of the show as well as the I'm building the website for the podcast right now as we speak too, so you guys will be able to get more information from the Food for Thought podcast email address as well as I believe that the website's going to be Food for Thoughts uh podcast.com. That's food FOOD FORTHOUGHTS Food for Thoughts podcast.com. So yeah, for more information, you guys can definitely click that link. That'll be in the bio description of this particular um interview, and then we can move forward from there. And I definitely plan on having you on again before, maybe we can do something like right before you guys open the doors, or I should say we open the doors to really like drive the traffic to get people signed up.
Okay. That sounds good. We already have everything laid out. Once the individual is accepted, we'll send work, and then they'll take it to the next level, and you know, and then everything is a go. All right.
And this is going to be a virtual
Yes.
interview, brother? Okay, got you.
Yeah. It's going to be global, and anybody want to come in, it'll be via Zoom. And if people want to get a little bit, more of a connection, then there'll be private, consultations or teachings. If they have another little group,
Right,
that they don't want to be a part of the larger,
right,
it's just going to be so flexible.
got you.
And then if, for example, if they're connected with any organization and they want me to come speak or via Zoom, then that's just another outlet.
Got you. Got you.
So I'm there. We're also focusing in on individuals who are incarcerated or who have been recently released, because we have to struggle against recidivism, and that cyclic, you in, you out, you in, you out,
Right,
what's happening here.
right,
And basically goes back to an inability to read and write.
right.
We start looking at percentages of, literary fluency. It's almost like a setup,
Oh yeah.
you're
It's a
not reading and writing, you're not developing your brain.
acts of war, man. Acts of war, acts of enslavement.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So, we're dealing with that. I worked in halfway houses a couple of years ago, teaching literature. And of course, I'm using my books,
Right, right,
and the whole thing is, I think folks get excited about it. Now, this could be a game, you know what I mean? Da, 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 and, as opposed to some continual Eurocentric, worship, and it's like,
right,
no, we're not going to do that up in here. Okay.
right.
But the whole thing is that it serves inspirational, and then this helps the brothers and the sisters to want to move forward in terms of educating and liberating themselves.
I like that. And it's definitely needed. Definitely needed.
Yeah, so it's not, just the kind of other folks up there in the burbs somewhere. It's like, no, we grassroots. I'm gonna always be grassroots.
No, that's right.
I teach in some of the roughest high schools in North.
Right.
And the whole thing is, I get the respect because they know I'm coming in and I'm for real, and I'm bringing something. I'm just not using the same old, ineffective
Right.
books and tactics.
Leave no
So
African behind.
that's mm,
I said, leave no African behind,
yeah,
but
exactly.
leave no soul
Exactly.
behind, even
That's
more so.
right. Not unless they want to stay, because I ain't spending all day trying to get you to come either.
Right,
Going to risk 1,000 to save 10. Y'all
right,
stay on if that's what you
right,
want. I'm gonna take the other 990.
right,
Moving on.
right.
You know.
Yeah. That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Baba, this has been a very powerful conversation, man. I'm looking forward to getting the opportunity to even rewatch it myself and just kind of like learn and soak up some of the knowledge and the information and the jewels you dropped, because it was a lot being a lot of food for thought was definitely being served today. And I definitely appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time, to come on and share and enlighten the people as always. And I look forward to doing it again, man, because it's just so much work out here to do, and there's so many people who need it. And I'm looking forward to getting this out to the people, man, for us to really start to tap in, to I'm gonna go back to, it was several powerful quotes that you had, but one of the ones that stood out the most was when you were speaking about ritual, meditation, and spiritual constitution. Like that, that's powerful, and it resonated with me on a very, very deep level. And I think that's something that, that is transcendent, that goes across the board with anything, any path, any walk of life, but primarily, especially when you're talking about Ifa and Orisha. That's a very powerful words of wisdom, man, and we definitely appreciate it.
Okay. And the feeling's mutual, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Appreciate you, and the stand that you're taking and the work that you're doing. Okay. You are seen.
I should. I
You are seen.
appreciate it. I should. So on the way out, do you want to share real quick for the people, like where they can find the handbook or GC, like all of your work, how they can, if they want to tap into learning some of this powerful information, how they can find your work?
All right, good people. Um, all of my books are on Amazon. Okay. Yeah, let's go to Amazon. You can type in the Handbook of Yoruba Religious Concepts. It has a beautiful layout of Orisha. I mean, I was floored when I saw it. Okay, uh,
Sure.
it's quite a statement. I've not seen it for any Orisha orientated textbook ever.
Hmm.
So again, I'm shaking up, shaking things up a bit,
Right.
but it's very nice. Um, uh, uh, the global perspectives and all that, everything is. I made sure that it would be accessible. Okay. Ojise, Souls of Myrrh, um, my novel about Kuumbu and Mina
Mhm.
in the War and Resurrection. Uh, they're all available on Amazon.
That's what's
And
up.
to add, when you read it, I'm open to discuss it with you. All you have to do is email me. Well, Bob, I read, your book, or I'm on a certain chapter. It's not just about, oh, here, read the book.
Right.
It's about, no, these books become a part of the reflections of an Ifa priest. The the inward journey that now is expressing itself, via the characters, and in terms of the quote unquote fiction,
Right.
and via the studies, the quote unquote nonfiction.
Mm.
So, we need to be open to discussing them, and pulling from them whatever is necessary to enhance our growth.
Mm.
Not just, everything can't just be about entertainment.
Right.
It has to be about being informative.
Right. Right. That's facts. That's facts. That's
Yeah, so go to Amazon, my people, and the books will be there waiting for you.
That's what's up. Well, I definitely appreciate you, Baba. It's always an honor and a pleasure, and it's always very refreshing, man, and very fulfilling to be able to sit at the feet of the masters and to learn and to be able to share. I think even more so, because for me, I've been, reading and studying your work, but to have the opportunity to work with you and just be a facilitator to be, you know, a messenger to share the message, you know, with you. I think that's, you know, it's a very honorable opportunity for me, and I'm proud and appreciative of that, for you just taking the time to even respond to the first time when I reached out to you, man, because, you know, that's special, because a lot of people don't, you know, respond or reach out to the people who follow them or who, you know, look up to their work. So the fact that you even responded was I made me happy, and then to actually be able to build a relationship and work with you is even more so humbling. And so I appreciate, you know, all that you do, all that you've done, and for you sharing your time and energy and words of wisdom with us and my community and my platform, man. We definitely appreciate you, Baba.
Sure. Yep.
I share.